Hello friends, so we have already seen what are social sciences and what are natural sciences, and now we are going to see what are the characteristics of social and natural sciences which are present in psychology and what are the characteristics of social and natural sciences which are not present in psychology. Okay, this will help us answer a number of questions in UPSC which have appeared in the past years about why psychology is considered sometimes a part of social sciences, why is it considered a natural science, why is it a scientific discipline. A number of previous year questions like this have appeared, which are there in the description of this video. You're going to get the content to answer those questions in this particular video. So let us start. So the first one is social sciences. So we know that in social sciences we study social phenomenon. We study social phenomenon, but we study it by the observation method. We study it by observation method. And in natural sciences, we study natural phenomenons. We study natural phenomenon and we study them by the experimental method. Experimental method. In psychology, we study behavior. In psychology, we study behavior which has both social element to it, and also biological element to it. Biological element. In social element, you can talk about social relationship, you can talk about attitudes, you can talk about temperaments, whereas in biological elements, you will be talking about brain, you will be talking about neurotransmitters, neurons, hormones, and all of that impacting our behavior. So behavior has social element, which means in behavior, we are going to study social phenomena as well as natural phenomenon because it has biological element also. And we study it by the methods of observation. We study it by the methods of observation as well as experimentation. And therefore, in the last video, we had concluded that psychology is neither a social science nor a natural science. It can neither be completely called a social science nor it can completely be called a natural science. Now, in this particular video, we are going to look at the characteristics of social sciences and natural sciences, and then we'll look at the characteristics of psychology. So let us draw a table. On one hand side, we'll have the natural sciences. Here we'll have natural sciences, and here we'll be having social sciences. So in natural sciences, again we'll just write it down that we have natural phenomena. We are studying natural phenomena. In social sciences, we study social phenomena. Here we utilize the method of experimentation, and here we utilize the method of observation. Now, because of this method, because of the difference in the method of natural sciences and social sciences, there emerge a lot of characteristics of natural sciences and social sciences. Because natural sciences utilizes the method of experimentation for studying the natural phenomenon, a number of characteristics of natural sciences emerge. Now, let us look at the first major characteristic of natural sciences. All the natural phenomena in natural sciences, they are studied in controlled conditions. Okay, so the experiments which are conducted in natural sciences, they are conducted in controlled conditions. Whereas in social sciences, we do not conduct any experiments. In social sciences, we do not conduct any experiments, and we conduct what? Observations. And observations are conducted in uncontrolled environment or naturalistic settings. Uncontrolled or naturalistic settings. So rather than having controlled environment, we have uncontrolled or naturalistic settings. Now, here we can add another point that in the controlled environment, when we are performing experimentation, there is a lot of intervention by the researcher in the process. Okay, so researcher intervenes in the process of experimentation. So here we can write researcher intervenes. For example, if you are conducting a physics experiment, if you are conducting a biology experiment, if you are conducting a chemistry experiment, there is a researcher who is mixing chemicals in the case of chemistry, who is increasing or decreasing the current resistance in case of physics, and doing several kind of things inside the controlled environment. So here we say that the researcher is intervening in the process. Researcher is intervening in the process. But if you talk about social sciences such as economics, if you talk about social sciences such as sociology, okay, political sciences, so here the researcher does not intervene. Here the researcher is just observing people in the naturalistic settings. So here there is no intervention of the researcher. No intervention of researcher. Here there is no intervention of the researcher in the case of social sciences. The next point that we are going to add here is that in the case of experimentation, because the environment is controlled and because the researcher is intervening, the results that we get, the inferences that we make, they are highly objective. So you can write objective results. Objective results means if I am doing the experiment or if you are doing the experiment, both of us are going to get the same results. It means that the results, they do not have a subjective element to it. Research do not has a personal element to it. If I am doing research or you are doing research, both of us are going to get the same results for a particular experiment. But in the case of social sciences, the results that we obtain, they are subjective. The results that we obtain, they are subjective. It means if I am making the observations, I might observe a number of things which you might not observe, and you might observe a number of things which I might not observe. So the results that we get, they are subjective. They are dependent on the person. So there is a variation in the results which I get and which you get in the same research. So in the case of social sciences, the results are subjective, whereas in the case of natural sciences, the results are objective. And another very important point that we need to mention in the case of natural sciences is that in the case of natural sciences, the cause-effect relationship that we get is definite. Cause-effect relationship is definite, which means it is related to the third point, that is the results are objective and the cause-effect relationship is definite. Definite means if there is a cause and there is an effect, if there is a cause and there is an effect in the experimental conditions, if there is a cause and there is an effect in the experimental condition, this cause is always going to have this particular effect. This cause is always going to have this particular effect. So if you increase the resistance, the current is going to decrease no matter what. Okay. But if you take the cases of social sciences, the cause-effect relationship is speculative. The cause-effect relationship is speculative. Why is it speculative? Because there is a subjective element to it, and therefore the cause-effect relationship is speculative, which means suppose we take the case of economics, and economics is, a lot of economics is about earning profit. So you might follow a method and earn profit, but I might follow a similar method and I might not earn the profit. So the cause is same, but the effect might not be same. Okay, the cause is same, the effect might not be same. The economic theories, the theories which are there in economics, they are not going to work everywhere. And the theories which are present in economics, they might or might not yield the results. There is a prediction that these theories might yield the results. If we change the repo rate, we might have a change in the GDP. If we increase the repo rate, we might have a change in the GDP. If we decrease the repo rate, we might have a change in GDP. The cause-effect relationships, they are speculative. The cause-effect relationships that we have here, they are mostly speculative and not definite. The results, the cause-effect relationship, there is a level of probability in it. There is a level of speculation in it. If we look at the characteristics of psychology, we are going to find everything in between of these two extremes. We are going to find everything in between of these two extremes of social sciences and natural sciences. Psychology lies somewhere here. So let us look at psychology. So let me minimize it and let's look at psychology. Yes. So here I am going to write the characteristics of psychology. So if I look at the characteristics of psychology, in the case of psychology, when we are trying to derive knowledge with the help of method of observation or experimentation, the control is not as huge as in the case of natural sciences, and it is also not as less as in the case of social sciences. Okay, so the level of control level of control is moderate. The level of control is moderate in the case of psychology. It is not very high, neither it is very low. Even if you are performing experiments in psychology, the level of control is moderate. Now, the researcher intervenes in the case of natural sciences all the time, and the researcher does not intervene in the case of social sciences. Okay, so in the case of experimentation, the researcher intervenes, and in the case of observation, the researcher does not intervene. So intervention by the researcher in the case of psychology is going to be there when he is performing experimentation. Okay, so researcher intervenes in experimental method, but no intervention is there. No intervention in the case of observation method, and we have seen that both the methods are utilized in the case of psychology. No intervention is there in the case of observation method. The third point was that the results are objective results and the results are subjective results. Objective in the case of natural sciences and subjective in the case of social sciences. And in the case of psychology, we try that the subjectiveness should decrease, but it cannot be made objective. Okay, so the results that we get in the case of psychology of an experiment or of an observation, they are not as objective, as natural science. They are not as objective as natural science, but also not as subjective as social sciences. But they are also not as subjective as social sciences. They are neither as objective as natural sciences, nor they are as subjective as social sciences. Now we come to the last point, that is the cause-effect relationship. And if you look at the cause-effect relationship, CE relationship, if you look at the cause-effect relationship, the answer is similar to the third point, that is not as definite as natural sciences and is also not as speculative, and is also not as speculative as social sciences. So the level of definiteness in the case of psychology for a cause-effect relationship is not as high as natural sciences. It is not going to be as definite as natural sciences, but it is also not going to be as speculative as social sciences. So let us take the example of therapy as a cure for depression. Therapy as a cure for depression. So this is the cause, that is therapy, and this is going to cause an effect, that is cure for depression. Now, it is not definite that this therapy is going to cure depression. It is not definite that this cause is going to have this effect, but it is not also very subjective. It is not also, the probability is also not very low. There is going to be some effect of the therapy on the depression of the person. So the cause-effect relationship is neither definite like the natural sciences, but it is nor speculative like the social sciences. So this finishes this particular video about the characteristics of natural sciences, social sciences, and that of psychology. With this particular video, you will be able to answer a number of UPSC questions, previous year questions that I have mentioned in the description of the video. If you have any questions, please do mention them in the comments. Have a good day.